Hey there, how are you? I am Clarence and today we'll talk about the best Nintendo Switch games that are on sale right now. We will be covering the UK, Europe, US, Australia, and Canada eShop. But first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see more of this series, please leave a like, remember to subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell to receive future notifications. Likes and subscriptions help keep the channel alive. First on our list is Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal for Switch is a technological marvel that runs at a consistent frame rate. Panic Button had to make a lot of sacrifices, including sacrificing a go to the technology gods in order for us to be able to rip and tear on a toilet seat. Despite the fact that Doom Eternal is rated M for gore and violence, the game has many features that make it safer for teens and young adults to play than the average multiplayer in the same genre. And I know where to go if I ever need to slay some demons with chainsaw. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is a fantastic fighting game with excellent gameplay, a plethora of content and game modes, and options for players of all skill levels. If you enjoy fighting games in the Persona series, you won't be disappointed. The game has a place in competitive fighter circles, but it also has a lot to offer Persona fans and has withstood the test of time well. It's also a breath of fresh air for those looking for a solid fighting game that doesn't rely on 1980s gimmicks or cutting-edge 3D graphics to hide simple gameplay. With this updated release coming to 3 of the most popular home gaming platforms, it's a great opportunity for both newcomers and veterans to give this game another shot. Next is Mark of the Ninja Remastered. Mark of the Ninja Remastered is an incredible stealth game that retains all of the magic that made the original version so popular among critics. Strong art direction, an engaging story, well-paced open gameplay, and a wealth of extra content combined to create an almost perfect experience that you won't want to miss. I recommend this game to any Switch owner. It's the best stealth game available for the Nintendo Switch and one of the best available for any console. Still one of the best stealth games in recent years, as well as a solid 2D platformer with a near perfect balance of depth, accessibility, and bloodshed. One of my favorites, Dead Cells. Dead Cells is an excellent example of how to create a fantastic roguelike. It has non-stop action, beautiful scenery, and a loop of unlocks and rewards that makes it difficult to put down. It's a stunning game that no Switch owner should pass up. There are probably dozens, if not hundreds, of hours of content here, and despite some repetition, it's amazing how fresh Dead Cells can stay for so long. This game is a lot of fun to play, it looks great, and it has a lot to do. Don't pass it up, you must purchase it because of how well it handles combat and how well it combines different types of games. Dead Cells is likely the best example of the roguelike genre. Next is Prison Architect. This game is extremely enjoyable. It takes an intriguing thematic approach to a strange subgenre of simulations, and while it retains the general complexity and what made that other game so good, it eliminates all the extraneous stuff, keeps it laser focused, and wraps it all up in a nice user interface. Life can be difficult, and even with tutorials, the best way to learn is to dive in and explore. But Prison Architect is worth the time it takes to master. Prison Architect is a challenging micromanagement simulation game that rewards those who put in effort. It's now on sale and available in the eShop, but it's a lot of fun, so give it a try. Heave Ho. Heave Ho is a fun game to play with friends. When my roommate and I first played it, I assumed it would take about an hour and I'd be done for the night. I'd been playing for 4 hours before I realized it, and I'd fallen off my couch several times from laughter. It's a great game to bring out at a party or get together with friends because anyone can figure it out and shenanigans will have almost everyone laughing until they cry. You owe it to yourself to try Heave Ho if you enjoy playing games with other people in the same room. Next is Cuphead. Even though Cuphead was released years ago, everything about it feels right. This game is nearly perfect on its own right now, thanks to its smooth controls and distinct style. Cuphead is one of the most entertaining and endearing games to have appeared in recent years. Everyone was convinced by the fact that it could be played on the Nintendo Switch. It looks fantastic, sounds fantastic, and is extremely difficult to play, just like it was on Microsoft's console, and the Switch library benefits from having it. Its emphasis on difficult boss battles isn't for everyone, but as long as you know what you're getting into, I can't recommend it enough. The Messenger. The Messenger is without a doubt one of the best indie games available in the Switch right now. It faces stiff competition from a flood of Metroidvania games, but its beautiful graphics, great music, clever writing, and excellent gameplay set it apart. I don't have much to complain about when I leave a game wanting to play it again every night. The Messenger is an excellent game that continues to improve. Everything about it is fantastic, from the sense of humor to the level design. It's a must-have for anyone who enjoys vintage video games. Next is Bug Fables, the Everlasting Sapling. Bug Fables, the Everlasting Sapling is the Paper Mario game that fans have been clamoring for over a decade. It's visually appealing, the main characters interact in amusing ways, and the turn-based battle system with real-time elements and strategy is entertaining. I want everyone who has ever played an RPG to give it a shot, not just Paper Mario fans. Overall, Bug Fables isn't afraid to show where it got its ideas. It also provides its own meaningful and enjoyable experiences for players. This game was a lot of fun for me, and I would recommend it to anyone looking for a challenge or a fun story with likable characters. Next is Metro Last Light Redux. Metro Last Light Redux is an excellent addition to the Metro franchise. It adds a lot of big budget bombast to Artyom's adventures, but it really shines when it stays true to its predecessor's slow-paced stealth action. It doesn't quite reach the heights of Metro 2033, and there are some bad boss fights and too many handoffs, on-rails moments, but overall, this is a fantastic first-person survival game with fantastic port that FPS and horror fans must play. You can't deny that Metro Last Light Redux is a fantastic game, no matter how you describe it. It and Metro 2033 play well on the Switch, and when combined, they make for a fantastic and heartbreaking experience. Next is Faeria. Faeria has a lot to offer, but it doesn't feel overly crowded. It's complicated, but it's never perplexing or frightening. Above all, it's a fun and exciting way to play both card games and board games. Faeria includes the standard multiplayer modes, as well as a card battle mode that is addictive, interesting, and just plain fun. Even though it's not the easiest game to explain, it's a fantastic way to teach that never feels too difficult or boring. Faeria is by far the best of the Switch card games I've ever played. If you want to play a fantasy card game on Switch, get this first. Next up, Pillars of Eternity Complete Edition. Even with these issues that are unique to the Switch, Pillars of Eternity is a joy to play. There are more than 40 hours of great role-playing games to play with the main campaign and 2 add-ons. It's one of the best Switch ports because it's one of this generation's best games. Pillars of Eternity does not break the RPG genre's rules, but it is a great homage to the classics, and the fact that the player's actions are so important to the story makes it a game that never gets old. The combat system adds to the game's depth and elevates Pillars of Eternity to a work that should not be overlooked. Next up, Shantae Half-Genie Hero Ultimate Edition. Shantae Half-Genie Hero Ultimate Edition is the complete package for series fans and gamers who enjoy this type of game. It's not the best platformer, but it's a fun adventure, especially with the DLC characters. Other than that, this is a really fun platformer. I wish the developer had done more with the Metroidvania elements, been more creative with some of the platforming parts, and added a few more environments to the DLC. This game is enjoyable for people of all ages and occasionally allows you to play as a female hero. She saves the world by using her hair as a weapon and belly dancing to transform it into someone else. Next is Raiden IV MIKADO Remix. Raiden IV isn't your typical shoot-em-ups by today's standards, so it won't appeal to everyone. All of these modes have existed in some form somewhere else. However, Raiden IV MIKADO Remix is one of the best shooting games ever made for the Switch, which is saying a lot for a console that has unexpectedly become a shooting game star. It moves quickly and has many cool tricks you can learn to help you improve your game over time. It doesn't hurt that the port is excellent and has almost every feature imaginable. Fans of shoot-em-up games should not pass up this opportunity. Next is Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. If you enjoyed the first Tales of Vesperia game, or if you enjoy heartfelt, interesting RPGs in general, you should purchase the Definitive Edition. There is enough new content as well as remastered graphics and remix locations. Tales of Vesperia is the first Tales games I've dedicated a significant amount of time to since the original PlayStation. I haven't been able to finish long RPGs without a way to take them with me since the Switch release. If you want to start playing the series from the beginning, start with Vesperia. Next is Catherine Full Body. Catherine Full Body is a fantastic game on any platform. The story is fantastic, and depending on what the player does, it can go in various directions into various locations. The puzzle is simple at first, but as you progress through the game, it becomes more difficult and enjoyable. This is not only one of the best games ever made by Atlus, but it also one of their most well-known. They not only enhance an already enjoyable experience, but they also make the game feel fresh. The love triangle was already complicated, but the addition of Rin complicated things even more. So if you've never played Catherine before, now's the time to start. Next is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is still a great game after all these years, and the new Switch version is the best I've ever played. Overall, despite the fact that it has been out for a long time, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is still a very good game. It's also one of the best Switch ports I've played. I'd recommend it to any Star Wars fan who enjoys RPGs. Next is Hotline Miami Collection. Despite the fact that it has been out for a long time, Hotline Miami remains a very tight and focused game. Wrong Number retains much of what made its predecessor great, but I don't enjoy the larger levels as much because it's too easy to get ganked by enemies you can see. If you avoid these games because they are mean and violent for no reason, you will miss out on a game that is addicting, well made, and even fun. Both games work extremely well as console ports and have arrived on the Switch without issue. There has never been a better time to play Hotline Miami if you haven't already. For everyone else, this is an unbeatable double dip. Next is QUAKE. QUAKE is back in a feature-packed remaster that updates the classic first-person shooter in a smart way. It adds a lot of optional bells and whistles, a ton of content, and the best way to play this masterpiece. There are a lot of online and co-op options, a great new expansion from machine games to blast through, and super smooth gameplay in both docked and handheld modes. All of this is available at a great price. This is a great port of one of gaming's all-time best games, and you should definitely add it to your Switch library. Next is Shovel Knight, Specter of Torment. Overall, it's difficult to criticize Specter of Torment. It's an excellent 2D action platformer with some RPG elements. The difficulty is well balanced, so newcomers like myself can struggle through it, while more experienced players can still expect a good but not too difficult challenge. I'll admit that some of the early bosses scared me, but I like that I could try going after the different knights out of order, find checkpoints, and have a lot of chances to continue at those checkpoints. It's difficult, but it's brief, and it may be more memorable than many of the old games it's based on. There are also feats and challenges to complete, as well as New Game Plus, which adds new location to explore. This game is a steal right now. Getting Specter of Torment exclusively through the Treasure Trove release would be a better deal. Next up, Valkyria Chronicles 4. Valkyria Chronicles 4 is still a fantastic strategy RPG game years later. It has a fantastic story, fantastic gameplay, a massive amount of content, and a fantastic soundtrack. Sega has made a fantastic addition to the long-running series that is enjoyable, has all of the features, and looks fantastic. Valkyria Chronicles was released at a time when it should have been difficult for a game to gain traction. Sega, on the other hand, has demonstrated that this dark horse has many bright years ahead of it. It introduces a few new and interesting ways to fight in tactical battles, almost all of which improve the formula in some way. Apart from that, it is relatively fun to play. Next up, Ruined King, a League of Legends story. Even if you're not interested in League, you should definitely give Ruined King a shot. It's a fantastic JRPG that nails everything that makes a good game in this genre. The main campaign is long enough to feel complete. There are numerous ways to customize your characters, and the turn-based combat system is one of the best I've seen in a long time. If you enjoy RPGs, you would be doing yourself a disservice if you did not play Ruined King. Even if you've never played anything in this genre before, you should give this one a shot because it's so good. Next is Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. It's uncommon to come across a game with as good looking graphics as this one, so if you have to grind a little to see everything this game has to offer, it might be worth it. Ni no Kuni is a JRPG masterpiece that will live on forever. The only reason not to buy it is if you dislike JRPGs. But if it is, you have up to 100 hours of fun ahead of you, and you will never forget those hours. The remaster is a great reminder of how good the series could have been, and hopefully future Ni no Kuni games will stick to this winning formula and bring back the story, cinematics, and the combat system that made Wrath of the White Witch a modern classic. Next is If Found. I'd like to play all interactive stories if they're like this one. If Found begins slowly, but the story of Cassio's personal journey as well as the beautiful art by Liao Yang quickly pick up the pace and draw you in. It's a story that everyone, especially younger gamers, should hear. Despite some sad moments, If Found is primarily about a warm and personal story. Even when there is pain and fear, being with people who love you for who you are, especially over a cup of tea, is a place to feel at home. It may have been difficult to get there, but If Found demonstrates that being true to yourself and finding people who will help you along the way will put you on the right track. Next is Tales of Iron. I'm impressed by how much thought went into Tales of Iron and how much of that comes true when you play it. Almost every screen I went to had something new to look at. I saw farmer frogs tending to their fields in between battles with enemy frog soldiers during my last attack on Frog Village. Oddbug Studios' inclusion of them in the game demonstrates that even the big bad guy isn't just bad. This is simply a civilization that despises Regis. I would have kept playing Tales of Iron just for how well the world was designed, but the tight combat kept me entertained the entire time. Next is South Park, The Stick of Truth. The Stick of Truth has all the characters of the animated show, with an emphasis on sarcastic humor. It also has a good, straightforward combat system, and a story that fans will enjoy. Even though the game could have been longer, it's difficult to understand why some parts were cut while others, which could have been more daring, were left in. This didn't detract from what was already a fun and incredibly funny RPG based on one of the most popular animated shows available. South Park The Stick of Truth on Switch is a great RPG and the best South Park game I could ask for. Next is Card Shark. Card Shark appears to be a game that will not work at first. It appears that an experience with a lot of dialogue and short, simple minigames would quickly lose its appeal, but I couldn't put it down. This game's witty writing, high-stakes gameplay, and beautiful art all work together to make it well-made and interesting in its own right. Card Shark is a fantastic game that defies most current gaming trends, and is well worth your time and money if you want to try something new. Card Shark is a lot of fun because it has a unique hook, a surprisingly deep game, and an intriguing mystery. Next is Assassin's Creed The Rebel Collection. Assassin's Creed The Rebel Collection on the Nintendo Switch is a technical marvel that demonstrates what a major publisher can do with the port on the platform if they put in enough time and effort. Assassin's Creed The Rebel Collection comes highly recommended. Even if one game is superior to the other, you still get two excellent games for the price of one. Not to mention that the previously released DLC is included, making this entire package a steal. Ubisoft has made amends for their mistakes by creating an almost flawless port of Black Flag. They accomplished this by utilizing Switch features such as motion controls. Of course, Rogue is no slouch either. Ubisoft demonstrates that if you work hard and are passionate about something, you can port big games. Next is What the Golf. What the Golf is a fantastic way to have a great time. I'm glad it's finally on Switch, but that makes me especially happy. It's the ideal blend of game and console. It's a good idea to buy a game that comes out for Switch and fits right in. What the Golf was already fantastic on PC and mobile, but the Switch version is superior, especially if you have a friend nearby. It's still insanely fun, strange, and a lot of fun. And even if it was just the campaign, it will be the best version of the game because you can switch between touch and stick controls. However, the addition of party mode significantly improves the overall package. And last but not the least, PixelJunk Monsters 2. PixelJunk Monsters 2 is an excellent addition to the tower defense genre. The minor changes give you a lot more options for where to place your towers, and co-op play makes it much more enjoyable to play again and again. The graphics are lovely in their own right, and the funky dancing, tree-destroying tower building gameplay will keep you entertained as you progress through the increasingly difficult levels until you reach the end. It has the same flaws as every other tower defense game, but it's still a good game. Some patterns can kill you without warning, forcing you to replay certain levels until you get them right. Despite the fact that this section can be a little annoying at times, Q Games put a lot of effort into it. That's all guys, I hope this video was helpful in deciding which game to play, and thank you for checking out the list. Please remember to subscribe and we'll see you at the next one.